So what did they say to you? Francis asked. Oh, just as you'd imagine. How had I found him? Where had I been? All that sort of thing. You were at that party in the country house, weren't you? Yes, Bryce came out too for a bit, but he was tired and wanted to come back. I should have left with him. But you know, it was a beautiful evening, and it's an amazing place. Spreading lawns and hedges clipped like giant birds and animals. I was having a good time. Then I got involved in a stupid argument with an ex who's staying out there. I had a drink to cheer myself up, and the next thing I knew it was 1 a.m, and all the taxis had stopped. They don't do them after midnight in Mould, apparently. Even during the festival? As I said to one of the girls, they need a few immigrants up here with a bit of a work ethic. Francis laughed. She was offering some racial solidarity, but also probing gently. He'd pass on all that for the time being. So, how did you get back? Priya explained about the Australian girl, about Rory's attack and their escape in the dawn. And when you got up to the room? I let myself in very quietly so as not to wake Bryce. I saw him lying there, Oh, Bryce is asleep. I was just starting to undress when I realised he wasn't snoring, which is unusual for Bryce. Then it dawned on me that he wasn't making any noise at all. So I ran over and saw that he wasn't breathing. I pulled back the duvet, and there he was, just sprawled out. Yes, said Francis. For a moment I thought he might be unconscious. So I slapped him. On the cheek? Yes, hard, 2 or 3 times. It wasn't you that gave him that bruise, was it? No, that was already there. Then his head lolled over, and I knew he was dead. That's when I freaked out and ran away. Which is when I found you? Yes. Priya had kicked off her flat leopard skin pumps, and her bare feet were sunk into the beige carpet. The nails of her long toes were painted a shiny crimson. What'll happen now, do you think? She asked. They've called in CID, Francis replied, so probably some kind of duty detective will come out and make another judgment. They're covering themselves, basically. Couple of young PCs, 3, 4, 5 years on the clock. They don't want to make a mistake. If our GP friend hadn't started going on about poisonings, they might have left it for the coroner. How come you know about all this? Police procedure, Francis smiled. I'm a crime writer, for my sins. Oh, I see. So, do you think it's possible that somebody might have... Priya looked up and met his eye. Done something? Anything's possible, Priya. That's what the professionals in the world of crime always end up saying. I personally think it's unlikely. Bryce was a literary critic. It wasn't as if he were a drug dealer in his spare time, was he? Not that he ever told me about. Or an immensely rich man with penurious relatives who stood to be set up for life by his will? Not immensely rich, no. He had money? Priya shrugged. More than he liked to let on. His dad was some kind of Midlands building magnate. When he died, Bryce came into quite a bit, and he'll come into much more when his mother goes. She closed her eyes. I'm sorry. He would have come into much more. I'm not very good at this, am I? You're still in shock, Priya. Take your time. If you're a literary type, you don't boast about money, though, do you? I mean, the thing is to be as broke and bohemian as everyone else, although obviously you are allowed to live in a beautiful house. Which he did? Up in Hampstead, in a leafy street just off the Heath. And then he had this bachelor flat in Bloomsbury he kept on as an office. You've been there? To the flat, yes, of course. I only ever went to the house once. Every summer he threw a bash in the garden. For the literary world and assorted extras. You'd see them there, all the big names. Even though he regularly damned their work? That's the funny thing about that scene. They lay into each other in print, and then 6 months later you see them chatting away merrily at a party. Secretly, I think they're all suckers for punishment. But Bryce was pretty canny. He never went for the really successful ones, at least if they were still up there. He waited till there was a whisper against someone, then got his strike in quick. That's the truth about him, despite his reputation for fearlessness. So, Dan Dixon? Classic case in point. People have been sick of Dan and his posturing for ages. Just nobody's dared say anything. Until recently. But other worlds a bit crap, so there've been a few mutterings and tweets and so on, and now it's open season. Francis smiled and looked over towards the window, where the morning sunshine was now streaming in. What other enemies did Bryce have? he asked. Apart from the paper tigers of the literary world, Priya shrugged. The mother of his children, Scarlett. I think she hates him pretty much these days. His children? Twins. Identical girls. They're 11. He adores them. They've been a little tricky with me, but who could blame them? They live with their mother? Yes. Were they married then? Bryce and Scarlett? No, they had the weirdest setup. They lived together for years and kept up this sort of family life for the kids, but then they both had other things going on the side as well. It was like an open marriage, but not really, because from what I can work out, Scarlett got jealous of Bryce's shenanigans, and I think Bryce got more action than she did. I mean, when he met me, he already had another girlfriend on the go as well. Besides Scarlett? Yes, Anna Copeland. She's a ghostwriter. It all sounds a bit complicated. It was. They sat quietly for a moment. Birdsong floated through the open window. So, do you mind me asking, why did you get involved? Priya sighed, and her intense dark eyes flashed downwards in the direction of the floor. Good question. I didn't mean to. But I was working with him on a daily basis. Bryce had this huge charisma. He knew everything, had read all the classics, and despite everything that Dixon said yesterday, he was really up to speed on all the new stuff too. That applied to the visual arts and music as well. His frame of reference was astonishing. To cap it all, he had this effortless writing style. I see, Francis said in that quiet way of his that always invited more. He could sit down in a crowded newspaper office with all the crap going on around him and bang out 1,000 words of fantastic journalism. He was like Dr. Johnson writing a Rambler article while the delivery boy waits in the pantry. Then he was a great companion, always entertaining, but kind and thoughtful too. Funny little presents and dinners out. Suddenly Priya's face had crumpled, and she was in tears. Francis reached out and covered her hand with his. It's okay, he said. I'm sorry. Oh, for goodness sake, don't be. Eventually she looked up at him. Go on then, she said. Ask. Whatever, I don't mind. I was wondering how exactly you managed to replace Scarlett and, Anna. Priya grinned. I gave him an ultimatum. I told him I wasn't prepared to be another of what his therapist called his satellites. He had a therapist? Yeah, God knows what she did. She was like a mother confessor who imposed no penance. Bryce told her everything, and she validated the whole lot as far as I could see. Anyway, I wasn't having any of that shit, so I gave him a deadline to sort himself out. He had a week to leave that sham home of his and finish it with his mistress too, otherwise I wasn't interested. Tough terms. Did you think he'd manage it? No, I was gobsmacked when he told me. On day 6. He hadn't been into work for a couple of days, so I thought it was over. Then he turned up with a bunch of flowers and a big smile on his face to say that he'd moved out. He was staying at his friend Rob's place, and Anna was history too. Did you believe him? I did, as it happened. I made him show me emails. Very thorough. I didn't want to be messed around. I had a boyfriend myself. Right. But he was a bit younger, more on the make, had less and less time for me, so it was time to move on. He's here, actually. At the festival? Yes, he's staying out at Wyveridge Hall. This is the ex you had the row with last night? Yes, Conall O'Hare. He's a travel writer. That's one of the reasons why I stayed so late, to prove a point to him, that I wasn't going to let his histrionics put me off enjoying myself. Not that he noticed. He buggered off into the woods, like the drama queen he is. So what happened to Anna and Scarlett in all this? Priya filled him in. Anna and Marv are here at the festival, actually, she said when she'd finished, promoting the book they've been working on together. So it's a real gathering of the clans, said Francis. Looking over at the window, he saw pale, flashing blue again, mingling now with the glow of sunshine on the curtains. Uh-oh, more fuzz by the looks of it. He got up, and Priya followed him. They peered out to see a man in a casual jacket and grey jeans emerge from the front of a marked police car. From above, his round pate stood out against a corona of dark brown hair. Perhaps they should paint a number on it